think we ought to face it. We're one of a few select group of YouTubers that could just exclusively wear shades and be this cool.
I know. Isn't it liberating?
It is. It's very, very liberating. Double D, welcome to the show, man. I got a few notes here that I wanted to kind of pull out there because these were really important, and most of these happened kind of like in the last few days. But number one, congratulations to Troll Lord Games, who's on the heroes list. 100K for The Hermit by Gary Gygax on their Kickstarter.
Yeah, I got the last one, Castle Zagig.
I grabbed a copy of that one too. I was like, I have to.
Yeah, I may still pick up The Hermit. Is it still open?
No, it closed last night, but I think they're probably going to have late backers on that one too.
In demand. I may grab it in demand. It's probably an adventure that I may or may not use, but sometimes I just want to support folks like that. So yeah, I may end up picking it up. I do have quite a bit of their stuff. They are the only. If you were just coming in and somebody said, "Hey, I want to play a D&D game or a D&D style game," they are the only ones left in the hero category with like full support, if you know what I mean. Like there's a lot of good like rule, like Old School Essentials or Greg's Dragon Slayer game coming up. But if you want to get like the whole line, like, hey, I don't want to mess around with anything. I want source books, I want adventures, I want rules. They are the last ones standing.
Definitely. And I love that this cleared 100K because they just added, like right before they closed, a 90K stretch goal. So now it's going to be compatible with Shadow Dark RPG.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw they were doing that.
It's a smart working with Kelsey in the Arcane Library, another in the list of heroes and heroines now. Yep. So I wanted to congratulate them on that, and all of them. Arcane Library, Troll Lord Games, congratulations. I can't wait to see what comes out of that because it's going to be amazing.
Well, it's amazing, right? What happens when you don't spurg out politically all the time and belittle your fans and try to drive away all the old school people.
And here's the thing: they were only looking for 1,000. That was their entire goal.
Well, I mean, that was their stated goal. I'm sure they were probably hoping for 10. That would have gotten it printed, but sometimes you have to play games. But yeah, that's a really, really good success for those guys.
And goes to show you that all these people who are saying that Gygax was so evil.
No.
And I hear Goodman Games is trying to bring Gygax back into the fold. I'm thinking Troll Lord Games got that started.
To Troll Lord and a lot of pissed off people on Twitter, letting them know. I mean, I think there was a chorus. We were just one of the voices, and there were many. And I think you always want to keep your heart open for forgiveness. Obviously, Christian forgiveness. So I do applaud them. In the same respect, I'm wondering what the mindset was for them to take it out to begin with. That just shows me there's a little bit of trouble there. And then, when you read that Dungeon Con online, those rules, I have said for them to get completely back in my good graces, they would have to almost disavow 98% of that document because it's appalling. I said it looked like it was written by Saul Alinsky, and I'm not lying.
Yeah. I mean, basically the takeaway I got from it was, if you're white, strike 1. If you've got the money to do this, strike 2.
Yep.
If you've got the materials to hand out, strike 3.
Yeah.
And you will take any abuse, you will take any direction from your players as long as they're of a different color. And they can just fling abuse at you and they'll be like, we don't consider that abuse. I'm like,
the one that went over the line for me was when they encouraged harassment in real life. I mean, I didn't like pre-read all of it. I skimmed. I knew what the highlights were.
Yeah.
So I saw, we're not going to address any, reverse racism and all that. That's fine. But then I started reading it and I'm like, wait a minute. Did I just read what I thought I read? They're encouraging you to harass people who violate maybe somebody's pronouns here in real life.
I think I look at it this way. Even if I were to we got if we got like my friend Heron on Twitter, if she comes into the game, she uses she her pronouns, fine, fair game. You went from one to the other, or even vice versa. They'll use he him pronouns. Fine, cool. I have no problem with that.
I do.
You're presenting well. Blair White shows up at my table.
Yeah.
She, I don't have a problem with that. Where I'm going to have a problem is someone who considers themselves non-binary to the point where their pronouns change by the nanosecond and I can't keep up. And then suddenly I trip and that person goes to flinging abuse at me, and they have literally no rules that they fall under. It's all pointed in one direction. It's like, okay, well, and my message was this, and this goes for any gaming company, not just Goodman, but if I pay the airfare, I pay the price of admission, I pay for the table, I write and come up with the one-shot adventure for the con, that is my table, fuck you. You might write the rule book, but that's as far as it goes. And no, exactly. I don't need pages of guidelines in order to figure out how to run my fucking table.
Well, nobody did until 5 years ago. I mean, look, I went to Gen Con, for 10 years, almost straight.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's, of course, now, considered, very liberal, because it's run by pretty liberal folks. But none of this stuff was there the last time we went, which I think, well, maybe some of it was starting to in 2019. That was the last time I went. But very little. I mean, if it seeped in. What's up, Cal? He's got the hermit.
We got
AA's here.
Yep, AA's here. Max here. So welcome, everyone. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Our friend Captain Graybeard himself. Love that guy. He's awesome. And not only that, but he's the guy that got me to check out Pathfinder First Edition, which was pretty good. I still favor Castles and Crusades for its simplicity, but I mean, the terrain and the miniatures that this guy makes and shows off, geez, that is it's amazing stuff.
Yeah, we for Pathfinder, we kind of fell back on that after they abandoned 4th edition, which I actually thought was kind of fun for a while. The numbers became crazy at a certain point, and then it was pretty clear like they felt they made a mistake with it, and that's fine. So we kind of were like, well, we got a dead system here. What are we going to do? I think we ended up playing maybe Hackmaster in my Birthright campaign for like a year. And then I think I just said, fuck it. Let's just go back to something familiar. Essentially 3rd edition, but let's just do it with Pathfinder. And it worked.
And just remember, boys and girls, woke leads to thought crime. Yep, that's true. That's exactly true. And here's the thing. Yeah. And I like to point this out because just from direct experience, you can jump through every hoop put in front of you. It's a dog and pony show. Unless you're a dog or a pony, you don't have to jump through those hoops. And they're going to make you miserable anyway. The question is, do you want to be miserable with at least some happiness in your day, or do you just want to be fucking miserable? And these people will stop at absolutely nothing because their lives are so fucking desolate.
I try to tell people, like, you don't know how liberating it is to be able to tell anyone you want to go fuck themselves. Right now on Twitter, when I see somebody who comes in with a smarmy comment or something like that, I immediately go to their bio. I'll look at the pronouns. I'll respond with just a laughing face, and then I'll just requote the pronouns. Like, that's who you are. You know, I do not take you seriously.
That's not a gamer. That's just an activist. Yeah, that's an activist and gamer skin there. But that's about all it is. And I've got people that do follow me that have popped up and started going nuts about this list that you made, which we're going to get to in just a moment. And
I got a question first. Where does Wolfgar come from? That part of the name.
Actually, a lot of it comes from a dream that I had one night. It's kind of a weird one, so I won't go into it here. Okay. But one day we'll kind of go into that.
I thought it might have come from. Did you ever see the movie Nighthawks?
Nighthawks, no. That's the one Stallone movie I haven't seen yet.
Early 80s, Sylvester Stallone, Billy D. Williams, and Rutger Hauer. Rutger Hauer is a 1970s style German terrorist, and his code name was Wolfgar. So he would occasionally he'd taunt the police and say, "This is Wolfgar calling." It's actually a pretty good movie. It's one of Sylvester Stallone's like most underappreciated movies. So definitely look it up.
Sort of like Cobra.
You may get a kick. Yeah, for sure. Yep.
So, what was it?
The list. The
list. Yeah. So, getting to this list, and I know, like I've done my pin thread. You're doing your list. Ocul's done his.
Yep.
And I'll be honest, there are some games on my pin thread that, had I had Ocul's list before, maybe wouldn't have purchased them.
Me too.
Everybody's
got to realize there's no shame involved here. Like you have this stuff, and look, even if you buy something, in his red or my villain list or your naughty list, I mean, look, I'm not going to scold you. I'm not, it's your choice. I'm just telling you, these are people that probably hate you, but maybe you think it's worth it. So that's up to you.
And on top of that, this isn't like, we're not telling you that we would like a ban on these companies. Yeah. That's not what we're telling you. We're showing you here are companies that will just make a game that's fun, it's enjoyable. Here you go.
The target
games, but they also don't like you very much.
Oh yeah. The target for my list, and maybe Oculus too, and yours, is just somebody who's slowly been kind of building up. They're hearing things and they're like, man, I am so sick of this. I wish somebody would just tell me, who the worst of the worst are. If you've reached that point, then I would say, then these lists are for you. If not, then that's fine. Just keep, doing, obviously, and supporting whoever you want.
Yeah. This one. Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
There are people who can ignore parts of those products they don't care for. I'm not going to lie. Like, I really do want to pick up Old Gods of Appalachia. I am a fan of that podcast. Like, I love the stories. I skipped the interviews because I ran into one where it was an interview between Steve Shell and I think the guy who plays. There's a character in there. He's kind of like the devil. He just keeps popping up, and he's got that sort of like way about him. He doesn't age. People know it. He's creepy, and this guy also did the voice of Spider-Man and the Spider-Man game, stuff like that. And this interview was during the lockdowns, and both of them were like, "Oh, if you're not going to get the shot or you're not going to wear a mask, then just go to another planet." And I'm like, "Skip."
Yep.
So I know they've teamed with Monty Cook Games. Okay, fine. And Monty, one-on-one, from everything I've heard, is actually a pretty cool guy. He's pretty chill, laid back. It's the people around him that aren't, and namely Shauna Germain.
I was going to say, Shashi, the crazy / hot axis for
exactly.
Her is, and I don't blame him for because man, when they probably first met, I can't imagine how fun life was for him for about 10 years or so. Now He looks like he's been drained by a succubus. We were joking about it on the last lair that we had on Wednesday. We took a look at like one that was like maybe 4 years ago. He looks like a shell of his former self. I said, oof. That's what about 10 years of great sex will do to you from a succubus.
but like Monty one-on-one sounds pretty cool. I haven't met him, but everybody I know who has met him said he's pretty cool.
He's talented. I don't care. I've never really cared for his style of stuff, but I've always appreciated it, and I still do. I do understand he has talent. But he's just
he's done like work for second edition AD&D that I'm familiar with, namely like Glantry and stuff like that.
Planescape. The stuff of his too. That I like is in Planescape.
Yeah, so he's done some great work, but I know what Shauna wants to put in there. I know she's part of that development team, and for anyone who got that, I'm really just waiting on them to tell me, is there anything objectionable in it? And if there's not, or there's just so little I could gloss over it, then I'll go and grab it. I mean, like, I've got Cyber Rats here by Alex Reinhardt, his entire section on safety tools is this tiny little paragraph. It just says, it basically, I think you could boil it down to, hey, don't be a dick.
We're getting to the point where we almost are going to have to concede that for a while. Just because if you threw everybody out that does that, like Free League is a perfect example. Mostly their games are really solid.
Yes,
but they will put that blurb in. And it used to just be like in Dragonbane, it was just a blurb about pretty much hey, just
check up on your
player.
play,
play good or wherever. But then I got Blade Runner, and then they start mentioning like, oh hey, we got X cards and lines and veils, and I'm like, come on, you don't have to do this.
That's why I'm like, no, you have X cards, lines, and veils. Yeah. My table does not. Let's manage those expectations.
And that's kind of why in my list I kind of created the coward category, because I still wanted to have a way to separate those folks for maybe people that have a hard red line on it. Mm-hmm. But I would still recommend, like, look, there's no reason not to buy from these guys unquestioningly, but maybe there's a few people out there that's a huge issue for them. So that's why I wanted to put a separate category for folks that you can still support, but are maybe kind of leaning a little bit in the wrong direction, maybe haven't gone over the line yet.
Yeah. And I know a recent game I got, I won't name the name. Overall, really good game. It's one that you've probably seen me like backing to the hilt on Twitter. Once I got it, I'm going through the PDF and I find there's a section where they're going to neuter the pronouns, or they're going to use different pronouns here and there and everywhere. And I'm like, but literally that's the only thing. And I'm kind of like, God damn it. So
why do they do that? It's like you're not, if they weren't in there, you'd have maybe 30 people complaining on Twitter in the whole of Twitter. And if you just ignored them for 2 weeks, they would go away and they would move on to something else. I wish these people would understand that.
Well, look at what happened with Troll Lord Games. Troll Lord Games got the slings and arrows for literally just that, a couple weeks. You might have had a straggler.
I was one of the one firing the arrows. I made a video or two on it.
We were both at that wall.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sitting there like throwing pitch and whatever I can over the wall because I'm like, no, not here. You have 5th edition. You got 5th edition D&D. Go for it. Get out of my face. Don't bother me with this crap. Don't bother us with this crap. It's not worth it. But one of the things that I noticed was that's literally the whole of their endurance is about a couple of weeks. Then they fuck off. They go away. Yep. And that's
across the board, by the way. They will do that no matter what, whether it's comics, movies. They don't have the attention span. And the next shiny object will grab their attention because they live on outrage, and the dopamine from the old outrage just kind of starts to go down. So they need the dopamine from the new outrage. So just hold fast for 2 weeks. You're fine.
It doesn't really help things at all. But Ironcaster made a good point. It's healthy to recognize when individuals or companies don't want your money. There are about 100 companies making fantasy RPGs. There's got to be at least 1,000 making RPGs for literally everyone. There are tons of them. There's literally a seat for every bottom. If you can't find your niche, god damn. Is your life so empty you have to take it from others? Look, I don't like Thirsty Sword Lesbians. I think it's a horrible game. I really don't recommend anyone buying it. But if you like it, you do, and you're just morbidly curious or whatever, fine. It's your money. You do what you want with it, but don't be surprised if you become a lifelong fan and the company turns on you because they're not your friend.
Well, as I said, like in the opener, it is amazing how almost the whole of the major fantasy market has been co-opted, and two companies, WotC and Paizo. That is a huge majority has been completely co-opted. That's why I kind of said it earlier. If you're looking for the complete experience, like, I remember playing D&D as a kid. I'd like to get back into it, but I don't want to do it with these woke companies. But I don't have time. It's Castles and Crusades. That's it.
Yeah, and on top of that, Castles and Crusades, white box FMAG.
Yeah. Now look, you can get like the old school essentials, or like I said, Dragon Slayer from Greg coming up or whatever, and just easily convert old stuff and then all of a sudden now you have kind of expanded, your horizons. But for like a lot of normies, that's too much work. Like, I'm not gonna, all of us have that shit in our library, but a lot of folks don't. So.
And this is something I thought you would be interested in because I came across it last night, and I can't remember who sent this, but thank you if you were on Twitter and you sent this or tag me in. Thank you for sending this. They mentioned that if you see this, it's time to run in the opposite direction. Sweet. And there's a reason for it. This is a company that pushes the ESG scores and the DEI nonsense that we're seeing pretty much everywhere that we're all getting tired of.
Yeah.
And what makes it even more interesting, and I'll show you this. Here are the companies that they're in bed with at the moment. So let's see. I'm gonna drop this real quick. We're gonna share this one, and I got 2 of these.
Sweet baby. God,
yeah, sweet baby.
Even the names they think of and the logos, they're also creepy.
Here are just the first group here. I'll hide the comments. Well, shoot, can't see past that. But anyway, Valve, Xbox Game Studios, EA, 2K, Ubisoft,
jeez,
Warner Brothers, Polytron, Rocksteady.
At least they're all small companies.
Right? Companies I won't even notice in like 5 years.
Yeah.
And it gets better.
How crazy.
What
a shame.
Here's the next one. When I saw this, I was like, uh-oh. So share that one. Boom. Chance Agency, Avalanche, Deck 9, Wizards of the Coast.
Yep.
Fellow Traveler, Glitch, People Can Fly, Nerial, The Works, Remedy. Guys, I hate to tell you, but if you're...
Well, one thing I would say, I mean, is that Wizards are Hasbro, because I mean Hasbro would be the parent company.
True.
So I would expect almost, if it's ESG related, then we're talking about, that at that level it would probably be Hasbro that you would see. So
yeah, definitely.
I'm not saying it's wrong, but and look, it wouldn't surprise me one bit, of course. But
not at all.
Yeah.
But what makes it especially egregious is these people. I'm looking like with major companies like the ones we just saw. I kind of get it. Like I get it that they have lots and lots of loans going on and everything else. So whenever you take out these loans from like people like BlackRock and shit like that, you're going to have to go by their rules for the terms of the as part of the terms and conditions. But what I don't get is when independent companies do this. Like, I don't understand that because it's like, okay, I don't know if they have those loans or if they have that kind of debt, but are they hoping for it? Because that's not exactly a good goal there.
I kind of don't. I'm a CPA, but even I don't get into that level of detail on that stuff. I hear ESG, I know what it means, but it's one of those things I don't know if you can control. The only thing I know is BlackRock is like the bad actor there. So
yeah,
I try not to have anything in BlackRock if I can help it. But
and it's not just BlackRock. I think it's also State Street and all these other financial companies that I learned about. About a couple of years. It was like 2-3 years ago because I'm also into crypto. And I've got my little stashes, and I'm holding on to them, and that's where I'm gonna leave it. And
I got some Ethereum. It's been doing well. I got a nice little recovery lately.
Dude, I'm gonna say this. I bought $600 worth of like $500-600 worth of Bitcoin. 5-6 years ago. I think it was at like 8,000 then. And that thing, I checked it last night. It was up to like over 44,000. I was like, that was the subject of one of my Twitter posts. I was like, it is absolutely blowing my mind that something I bought a few years ago is now worth its value's appreciated like well over 5 times by now. That was nuts.
As a CPA, I always have to get professional education, and it can be on a variety of topics. And I remember one time, it was this guy who was, I don't know, he would work in these stock market examples to whatever he was teaching, and I could sometimes you can just recognize smart people if you don't have a huge ego about yourself and you realize that there's going to be a lot smarter people than you in the world. So I was paying attention to this guy and his examples of like, oh, you know, the time to buy, you know, this kind of stock, you know, if you're in a recession, buy Las Vegas casino stock. It always dips. And then, you know, when it recovers, it always, you know, comes back. And I'm sitting there like, holy shit, this guy is giving you advice that will make you a lot of money. So in one of the breaks, I said, hey, I'm really digging what you're saying. And we just struck up a conversation, and he's like, yeah, you know what you know what I've been looking at? He's like, and this is probably like 4 or 5 years ago. He's like, I've been looking at like natural gas. He's like, it's so beaten into the ground. He's like, and he just looked at me in the eyes and he goes, it's got to come back at some point, right? And I'm just like, holy shit. And I remember looking at a natural gas company like right around that time. It was like $2 a share. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm like, I'm going to put some money in, you know, my 401k. Sure enough, last year, I mean, it's down a little bit now. It's down around 20. At one point, it was like $49 a share, like last year. You know, with the whole Russia-Ukraine thing, and I'm like, I still want to track that guy down and thank him. So I put it a decent amount for my 401k in that company. I still do.
I'll say this: my like one of my relatives told me about XRP and XLM and stuff like that. He was talking about the kind of problems that the stuff would solve, and you know, like, I'll be honest with you, at the time, I just bought Bitcoin and was holding on to it. I wasn't really doing anything with it. And when he tells me about this, you know, how money transfers, how long they take on the back end, I was like, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. And he mentions like how XRP is going to fix that. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I sat on it for a little while. I must have bought my first couple bunches at like 25 cents. Then the lockdowns happened and tanked it to like 10 cents a token there. And I remember being a little irked about that. And then I was like, wait a minute, it's all on sale. So if I spend $20 now, I'm getting way more of it. And I spent, I think that first year and a half, just shoveling whatever I could afford and still, you know, pay bills and make sure everything's taken care of. I sat there shoveling that into my bags and was like, all right, I reached a certain level. I was like, yeah, I think I'm good right here. And then it started going up. And I mean, if it raises by like 2 cents, you know, there's another $500-$600 added to the value. And I'm like, geez. And keep in mind, there are, like, I saw this in the news lately. I really wish I'd saved the article, but the Supreme Court is trying to hear whether income can be like just the assets you're holding on to that you're not doing anything with. You're not cashing them out. They want like unrealized gains. And I'm like, yo, okay, if you'll cover unrealized losses.
Yeah.
Aside from that, no, that's like, dumb.
Yeah. How can you pay for it without selling them?
Exactly. And I'm like, and I warn people, and this seems like an extreme, but hey, come on, look at what we've got today. You're holding comic books right now. And to you, they may just be something to read, but if they want those things valued and they find the prices, you know, the value's gone up on a comic book you're holding, you'll have to sell that too, just to pay them.
Well, just keep, as I say to people, just keep voting for the people that want this. You know, exactly. It's like I talk to so many reasonable people, you know, and you'll think they're 100% with you, and then they'll be like, yeah, but what are we going to do about these Republicans and all that? And I'll be like, stop. You know, not being perfect is different than trying to tear, you know, than someone who wants to tear you down and destroy this country. So suck it up. And don't line up behind the people that want to destroy this country and the world on election day and vote the exact same way they do. If you have to hold your nose and vote for whether it's Trump or whoever the Republican is, do it, you fucking retard. Well, I'm so sick of it. I'm getting so sick of it. And you know what? The more I always, when I started on YouTube, I'm like, well, I got to be, you know, kind of nice. And the more I go, the more I'm gonna call it as I see it.
Yeah.
Don't vote for these fucking Democrat retards. They will destroy you.
Yeah. And they don't give a shit about you.
No.
They really don't. And I mean, the GOP here lately has not been much, if any, better. But
no,
at the same time, it's like
I'd rather have someone incompetent.
Exactly.
They spend way too much. Okay, but at the
Entirely.
very least, they're not going to like be as invasively bad as the other side is. So until we get a better option, go with the lesser of two evils. And I'm not even considering Trump evil right now, because I don't think he's like a true Republican. He's done a couple of things, I was kind of iffy on.
Yeah, same.
But overall, just the way he kind of stands up to, the establishment.
This is my positive comment on Trump, is that in the 4 years that he was president, and here's how I've always approached it. I've always voted third party libertarian, somewhere in there. And that's because I was that weird kid that paid attention in civics class, I guess. I don't know. I'm weird that way. But, I vote my way, and I'm like looking at the two that get thrown on TV, the two with the most advertising behind them. And I'm like, please not that motherfucker, or please not that one, or please no more 4 years of that dude. And whoever does get elected, if they're fresh faced, I'm usually like, okay, I didn't vote for them, but I'm going to be watching. Yeah. And here's your chance. Don't fuck it up. And within the first term, it's usually right there toward the end, they tend to show their true face and just completely let me down. And with Trump, he kept my cautious optimism all 4 years. No one has ever done that. Yep. No one.
He got handed a really bad hand in that last year, and given the situation, the circumstances, I didn't agree with some of the stuff, but I think he did the best he could with it. In overall, he wasn't the one pushing for lockdowns. He was just saying, the old 2 weeks. I think everybody was fine with 2 weeks to slow the spread, but then, as you give an inch
for years.
Yeah, give an inch with these motherfuckers in California and Oregon and Washington and places like that. They're gonna take a mile.
They're going to take more than that. They've actually shown that. Yeah, I don't go by what they say. I go by what they do.
Yeah, but it's always a good thing. Yeah. I mean, look, I consider myself more of a libertarian, but you got to be practical, And Ronald Reagan famously said, like, look, if you are a libertarian, your home is in the Republican Party. Look what we're for. We're for less. We are for less government. Maybe we're not for no government, but we're for less government. Certainly less than our opponents. So just be practical, because I don't know if we. I don't know how much longer we can, hold them off. But at the very least, let's not let him in the next, 4 years, because 4 more years of this guy, we're done.
Well, yeah. And Max says, not a Trump fan, but I voted for him. He was the president we needed in this economic times. Next year, I think we're going to need more of a military leader. I'm gonna agree with that first one, because when I say that Trump held my cautious optimism for all 4 years, he is that's the reason I voted for him, despite being, the guy who normally votes libertarian. I voted Gary Johnson. I voted Darrell Castle, who was Constitution Party. And it's amazing when people ask me and I tell them that this is the way I voted, they look at me like, huh?
Yeah.
And I'm like, did you not read the ballot? They were right there.
And it's always hard with folks like you, because I know why you're doing it, because we are ideologically probably the same. I would just argue that, look, you just got to be practical, and you have to understand, of course, and you realize they're never going to win. And I know if you say that, well, then how would anybody ever how would any dark horse ever get elected? But still, in this time, I think you got to be very practical. And just, what, if you want a little bit of shaking up the establishment and all that,
I think it's funny that and I argue this, the reason that the Libertarian Party is never going to get in, I say never until the Libertarian Party needs to understand and needs to put forward that we do have civic duties and certain responsibilities that come with that freedom. And if we're not good stewards of that freedom, look at Wizards of the Coast with D&D, y'all. Need an example? There it is. If we're not good stewards of it, we will lose it. and we're right there looking down into the pit of losing it. But I'm going to say this: I did an article on my Substack called "Just Keep on Swimming," and I pointed out there are things like, what Troll Lord Games is doing, what the Rippaverse is doing, which, by the way, just got Alpha Core #1. Can't wait to get a little. I already started reading it, but I can't wait to get a little more into it. I bought covers A and C. C was just for collectability, but A is the one I'm going to read. I got nice. We got Isom. Isom was not supposed to do well. Isom #2 was not supposed to do well. Alpha Core was supposed to be a total failure.
I got Isom. I got both Isoms. I haven't picked up Alpha Core yet. I will.
Yeah,
I like Core. Eric. I like what he's trying to do.
Yeah, this one was written by Chuck Dixon, which everybody's familiar with Chuck Dixon's work, especially if you've seen The Dark Knight Rises, Bane, and The Breaking of the Batman. That is Chuck Dixon.
Oh yeah.
But these things that aren't supposed to be successful are slowly but surely just becoming successful. We got YouTube channels with regular people, yourself, me. Well, maybe not me. I've only got maybe about 200-300 subscribers, but it's no big deal because my channel's geared differently. Especially for the recorded videos that I'm going to be putting out again. Apologies to everybody who hasn't gotten a reading lately. Real life has been intruding quite a bit.
That's how you grow your channel, by the way. People always ask me like, oh, how did you have that? What little success you've had. And it's just doing. You have to do videos.
Yep, and
you have to do pre-planned videos.
Well, you got to be consistent, and you got to let your people know when things aren't going to be delivered, because hey, some of us, like myself, we got jobs that we got to go to, and this is not our job. I don't monetize, and I don't want to, because I don't want to work for Google. Google's a terrible employer.
You should just aim for maybe once a week, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you can put something out once a week, that way people will realize that there's a little thought behind it. I don't understand these guys who do 5 videos a day, like a Scott Garibay or somebody like that, who will just fire up their camera, and it's like, dude, it's garbage content. Condor DM before he fucked off and quit YouTube, I guess, again.
Yeah, I was gonna ask what happened with him, because
it was funny because in one of I think it was the first video, he came after me. I didn't even know who this guy was, and they're like, yeah, this guy Condor DM, he came after you. I'm like, what? So I was watching it, and in the video where he came after me, he's like, I've seen these guys come and go. They burn themselves out, and then they have nothing to talk about, and then they're done. And I'm like, I keep looking to see if he's made a new video, and it's like 1 month, 2 months. I'm like, you motherfucker. And the thing about him is, I've seen his Twitter. He blocked me on Twitter for some reason. We'd agree 99% of the time. He's 100% pro-Trump. He's like really conservative in that. I tell you, the autism on this side of the fence, at least our opponents, I will say, and maybe of course this is their detriment too, but they are of a like mind. They generally don't go after each other. We make sport of going after each other on this side, and it's, to a certain extent, it's fine, but we can never just agree to disagree. It always has to go into this autistic realm, which I just have never understood. Maybe it's my age and the era I was brought up in. Like, I look around and I see people fighting. I'm like, why are you guys doing this? It's so dumb.
Well, I know when you announced this list, which I'm going to go ahead and put up on screen now because we've spent enough time waffling about it. One of the things that came up was this one guy decided to want to put himself on your villains list. He just stepped into it. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And I mean, looking at his, I looked at his feed. He seemed like the kind of guy I would talk to, and he just went ham. Would not listen to reason. Wouldn't even at the most civil. He just kept punching. It's like,
was that the Punch Hitler guy?
Huh?
Was that the Punch Hitler guy that we're talking about?
No, that wasn't him. Okay, that wasn't him. It was the writer. He's going to make a game. He's going to put this, that, and the third in it. And we're like, okay.
By the way, that's not what this list is for. Those folks, because I know the Oculus list, they tried to do the same thing. You get all these little Look, if everybody who put out something for a role-playing game considered themselves like a publisher, the list would be, 100 pages. It has to be workable. So for my list, it either has to be the first round was just basically either known companies or smaller companies, but they're kind of friends of mine. Can you hold on 1 second?
Sure, yeah.
My son's calling.
So it's a very short list. And this is what I want to kind of stress to you. This is a short list because right now it's going to be a work in progress. So what we have so far, we do have heroes, we have villains, we have cowards, and we have traitors. Heroes, I'm going to kind of go down this list. I think they deserve a lot more mention than many of the rest. Greg Gillespie from Dragon Slayer, Barrow Maze, and more. Honestly, and this could be just because I'm so busy a lot of the times and I've gotten a lot of games kind of recommendations put in front of me. Greg's was never one of them.
Well, it's not even out yet, for one.
Okay.
Because he kickstarted it and he's finished it early, which just blows me away because you see the Matt Colville thing and how long it's taken them. Greg started hammering this, I think, last year, and he works like a dog. And he's like, I'm going to get this done early, and he did. But he told me, he's like, I'm just waiting on drive-through now. He said they're so backed up.
Yeah.
So that's the problem there.
Okay. So and personally, I have enough like fantasy games that I'm kind of like looking at other genres. And speaking of other genres, what rolls in right behind Greg but Venger?
Yeah. I front loaded this for people I know and like. So sorry, that's my
no.
That's my
you have to understand, on this channel, we love us some Chalt.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely love. As a matter of fact, Chalt also has X cards, but they're not what you think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was on my show. He was demoing them. Yeah, the Chalt cards, yeah.
I literally purchased a set off of him based on the strength of that free PDF. I was looking, I was like, oh, he does custom make these. That's cool. So I ordered a wooden set myself and featured them on this channel in a lot of moments that Archer would go phrasing. So Chalt is a great game. I do recommend checking it out. It may or may not be your speed, and that's fine, but definitely
it's not really mine, but I will still support Venger. I will shout it out for folks that are into, may want like that Gonzo sort of experience.
Yep.
And plus, I just like the dude. I'll be at VengerCon. I am the guest of honor at VengerCon next year. So yeah.
If my crypto moons like sooner rather than later, then I'll go, because then I could just quit working.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
If my XRP and XLM do what I hope they'll do, I could be like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna grab a jet over and go over to Wisconsin to do VentureCon and just see what's what. I'll kind of be lurking in the background, but I'll be there at some point. Troll Lord Games for Castles and Crusades. I'd also like to add Amazing Adventures, because it is a really good universal system. It does go multi-genre. And also Victorious. Victorious is an amazing game. You could pretty much do League of Extraordinary Gentlemen with that. Oh, the Red Room. I love the Red Room mainly because they do make a good game. But secondly, they don't give a fuck what you think. They're going to put what they want in their games. They're going to make those games. They're going to produce them. If you have a problem with it, you just don't have to buy it.
Well, they are a pretty big pub. They are so prolific. I mean, it seems like they are putting out stuff, and they have their system. They support it. Yeah, so they'd have been on there anyway. But I mean, just because I like them, but they are legit, like, good publishers. They keep a schedule, and damn, you can always count on new stuff coming down the road from them.
Now, Mad Scribe I've heard of, but I'm not familiar with their work. I should probably be checking them out.
It's mainly Chris. It's mainly Chris Miller, who does Mad Scribe magazine, which is kind of aiming to fill the void that maybe Dragon used to in a small way, obviously. But it's a full color, print magazine. It's cool. He also has a game called Angkor, but again. And he also is actually the publisher for RPG Pundit for some of his stuff. So,
Okay, that explains why I've heard of him before.
Yeah, but he's a really good dude. Like Chris Miller is a really good dude. Yeah.
All right, Mac, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. That was Victorious by Troll Lord Games. I think they still have it in PDF. I bought the physical book when it went on sale for like $10. Yeah. It was really good. I thought, okay, it's $10, and if I don't like it, I've spent $10 on worse. Let's check it out. And when I cracked it open, I could not put that book down. It was a lot of fun to breeze through, to go through. I took it to work with me and just, honestly read it during my break. It was a great book to check out because, and I'll tell you what really kind of sold me on it. This is like a piece of Victorian folklore because it takes the pieces of Victorian folklore, like characters like Sherlock Holmes, Jekyll and Hyde, all those characters, and it sets it in the real world. So during the Victorian time, the time of the Old West, and it makes those characters very real. So they're not just fictional characters in that world. Those are real people that you're reading about. So
yeah, I just wanted to get something out, so I just kind of put what they're most famous for. But maybe this list evolves, and it'll be a little bit more comprehensive as far as how else you can support, especially the people on the heroes list. But
yeah. And
I know you wanted to get to the cowards list, don't you?
No, actually, I really want to give these guys on the heroes list so much more than what we're going to give the cowards. But
I'm sorry, the traitors. I think
the traitors.
The traitors is where all the meat was. Yeah, there's only a couple in the cowards. Yeah,
traitors and villains primarily. I know we're about to go ham on them, but I really want to go ham on these guys first because they deserve it.
For sure.
They've done the work. With RPG Pundit, I do have Lion and Dragon, Sword and Caravan. I like the games to a certain degree. I didn't really I read World of the Last Sun, and I'm like, it's a little on the nose. That was my only real problem.
Mm-hmm.
With Pundit, I think my biggest complaint is his meltdowns on Twitter. It's like, Jesus, dude.
I know. I wish he would not do that. It just causes trouble for him, for the people he's attacking.
Yep.
The stuff splashes on folks like me and probably you and all that. It's
yep.
I don't want to have to choose sides.
Yeah, and yes,
I get along fine with him and John.
It wasn't a splash. Back in April, he did kind of come after me.
Oh, did he?
Mainly because I was pointing out, rightfully so, that the Red Room, they ran afoul of Drive-Thru RPG. I could tell you that Men was going to get him a slap, at least a slap on the wrist. They were absolutely right to tell people, grab this before they take it down. That was not hostile marketing. That was just fact. And then Drive-Thru RPG violated their own policy to just shove them off.
Yep.
And if they'll do it to Red Room, they will do it to anyone. And Pundit made it all about him.
I remember that. Yeah, he was kind of defending Drive-Thru. I know.
Yeah,
that's where all his stuff is. And,
not all of it. He does have some stuff on Amazon, some stuff on Lulu as well.
Yeah, but he gets most of it from.
But most of it, because I think Spectre Press has the company through which he publishes has an exclusivity deal with them, and leveled a lot of accusations at me about how I'm single-handedly killing the OSR somehow, and I'm like, dude, I was buying these games direct before Drive-Thru RPG was even a blip on my radar. What are you talking about? And I got tired of his crap. I BTF'd him. This makes the second time it's happened, and then he blocked me. And I'm like, okay, well, and the thing was, at the time, I was going to purchase, I think, Lion and Dragon, Sword and Caravan, and I had money set aside for those two and The Invisible College, because The Invisible College was the one I really wanted to check out. Yeah. And then he went after Kelsey Dion, and that's when I was like, I think I'm going to check out Shadow Dark instead. And I was kind of on the fence about Shadow Dark, but after that, I was like, yeah, I'm going to check out Shadow Dark.
Yeah, I think everybody was kind of like, why are you doing this? And she I think she had the perfect response. And I think even Pundit admitted that he had kind of had grudging respect for the way she responded. She never hid behind her skirts or, was saying, how dare you attack a woman who's trying to, she was just kind of basically saying, dude, what the fuck is your problem? And it's like, I was kind of chuckling at that. Yeah. So she handled herself magnificently. And yeah, I don't know what it is about Pundit. I think he was just kind of brought up in the message board days, maybe like me. But
Yeah.
I guess I kind of outgrew it where, yeah, you got into it with people. And then, more or less, a lot of the times it was like, no hard feelings, right? And it was like, yeah, well, it's not that era anymore on Twitter. People, if you put the wrong emoji, in something, people will take it the wrong way and block you and run off. And so it's just, I don't know.
Yeah. And then there was this, I literally chose a side on that one. It wasn't hard.
Well, obviously, I'm sure Pundit pushed you, to John, and it was weird because I had them both. I had them both on my show.
It's just once he had that blow up, I'm like, I get it. Me and Jeff Rowe are obviously going to be on different wavelengths there, and his little cult coming at me up to the day of that show, I was like, great PR, great job of having those idiots represent you. But I wasn't interested, so I was just like, you know what? I'll skip this one. And I'll catch the next one. Unfortunately, working the later shifts now, I really don't get to catch many of those shows as I want to. But I didn't take it personally that John was having him on, and I think Jeffro's an idiot. But at the same time, I didn't care. It's his show.
But he's not a dangerous idiot. I mean, he did one meme, that you could maybe, if you squinted, take as anti-Semitic. But what I think is kind of interesting is, with all the anti-Semitism going around, right now on Twitter, mostly from the left, by the way. I haven't heard anything from Cardinal Jeff Rowe about that. I mean, you'd think if he was a true, dyed-in-the-wool anti-Semite,
True.
He'd be taking advantage of it. I haven't seen any of that. So we kind of joke about his swing dancing and that, and I don't like that attitude that, bro, you're playing the wrong way, blah, blah, blah. To me, that just gets tiring, but.
No, I just tell people, oh, you're playing the wrong way. Okay.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it? Huff and puff and blow my house down?
Mea culpa. So so I tend to ignore him, but I don't have any ill will towards the guy or anything. I just not my cup of tea. And I certainly didn't have I would never have had a problem with John, having him on his show. I watched a lot of that stream, and I'm like, it was just kind of boring. I mean,
yeah, and here's the thing. I'm going to give Jeff Rowe one thing. I have read the core books for AD&D First Edition. I love them. I do, and I've got Osric up here on my shelf, and that's part of what got me there, because when I was growing up, AD&D Second Edition was really all we had available to us, and that's because we managed to get our hands on it, which that was a feat in and of itself. Small town during the panic, you got your hands on that on D&D. It didn't matter what it was, you were playing, and I always looked at Second Edition and went, well, what was the First Edition like? And never really had a chance to kind of go back. And it was only in the last few years I found out about, I found out Basic, Expert, Back Me and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Those were games I saw in the backs of my comic books, and I was like, wow, look at that. Okay, I've seen this before. I just didn't know what it was. And of course, when you're living in times like that, in places like that, yeah, guess what? Your information gets super restricted, bud, and it's not fun to find out later just what else was out there that you were being. That was the real gatekeeping.
Yeah,
were the religious groups and the media, and scaring the shit out of your parents and everything else. But yeah, that's the real gatekeeping there. Don't start thinking it was the players. The players that I found were like, okay, yeah, you're sucking wind right now with your character, but watch, over time you're going to get better, and we're happy to have you here, man.
Exactly.
We needed another player. We need more players, but we're definitely glad you're here. Palladium, I do like their stuff. I just think that the character creation is a little needlessly complicated. That's all.
I don't really know much about them. I never played Rifts. I always saw their books, and I'm like, well.
I have the one, it was called After the Bomb. It was supposed to be a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. They lost the license somehow and ended up having to just rework it because they had already done most of the work, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I checked it out. I liked it, but again, character creation little bit needlessly.
I think that's the system, or that's the one that Max Liao uses. I heard him saying that he uses.
I do still want to check out Rifts. I'm not as interested in Palladium fantasy role playing as I once was, because again, I have too many fantasy systems. It's going to be like, okay, which rule set do we want to play?
Yeah.
Autark for ACKS.
Alex,
congratulations
McPeace.
Congratulations on their Kickstarter again, because my goodness, that was huge. That was great for them. I'm happy.
That was kind of out of the blue to raise that much money.
Yeah, no kidding. Frog God Games, I got that Swords and Wizardry complete box set up here. Definitely a fan. Sign nominate, Stars Without Number. What, Scarlet Heroes, Worlds Without Number.
Kevin Crawford, right?
Yeah, Kevin Crawford. Anything Kevin puts out is just going to be an absolute joy to read, no matter what you do. Of course, we're going to John, the basic expert, Atomic Puck, Maquadito, and Cowpunchers Reloaded. I am. Well, I'm particularly proud of that because I edited that book.
Oh, did you? Nice.
Yes, I edited that book. He's like, so what do you want? Like 10% or what? I was like, no, just send me a PDF and a physical copy of the book. I'm good. That's all I want. I will work for RPGs. I'm good. But yeah, I was.
I can't wait to get Maquahedal.
What? Yeah,
looks solid. Yep.
He's dealing with Drive-Thru RPG right now. Naturally, they're backed up.
Same as Greg Gillespie. Yeah, they both are probably complaining about the same thing.
Yep. As a matter of fact, I got an update on it yesterday, and let's see, is it in here? Yeah, here it is, where he said, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Sorry for the silence. I've not been idle. I've been working with Drive-Thru RPG to get the POD version of the book set up to my liking. I'm currently waiting on the final proof. That's all he's waiting for. The Lulu print and POD version will be available on my website. That's good, but obviously we're waiting on Drive-Thru RPG to be up to speed before I release it. Below is a picture of the POD's previous proofs. As for the hardcover, I've been communicating with the printer. My contact at the printer did go on vacation, which slowed some things down a bit. However, a contract between the printer and myself has been signed, and the interior print files have been sent. So within the next 3 days, payment to the printer will be made. We're moving along. So everything's coming along, and right now he's also researching for the Conquistador supplement.
Nice. Yeah, I remember I talked to him. I had him on the show, and I asked if he would go there, and I remember he mentioned that might be in a future supplement. So it's good.
Yeah, I had him on this show too. I could tell he enjoys his work. Like I can tell he has a real drive and passion for it. Yep. Like it's amazing to see that, like how that's just, the thing that just lights him up from inside. And I'm like, that's what we need more of.
Well, it shows through.
Yeah. And
the weird thing is, I think Pundit has that too. It's like, I said, you guys all, you both have the same passion. And it's like, I was just marveling at why they're at each other's throats. I mean, I think it's more Pundit, just kind of going out of John after the blue and,
Victor.
I threw Victor on there because he's so sort of tied in with John. I'm like,
he is.
Throw Victor in there too.
But as his own person here, I'm going to say this: Victor got me, okay, and I think he got most of us. I bought the same supplement from him 4 or 5 times already. I mean, you figure, was it OSR Modern? Was it, or Simple Modernity? Which is OSR Modern.
Yeah.
Then it was Modern Necessities.
Modern Necessities,
The Modern Adventurer's Guide to Guns and Gear. I was like, I bought the same supplement every time. And I've told him that. I give him his props. He has absolutely earned every bit of that he's gotten out of me. And I was looking at it like, shit, he actually got me. The Modern Necessities is, of course, for old school essentials where you can take the whole point of his supplements is that you can take them, and instead of setting, let's just say you want to play Ravenloft, for example, instead of playing it like a Hammer horror film, you could play it like John Carpenter's Vampires. You set it in modern day, and instead of plate armor, you're going in Kevlar. You've got tactical weapons, you got lights, you got, all this other kind of stuff. And I did, yeah. Victor is this kind of dopey guy you can't help but like. You can't help but love the guy. I don't know why anyone would not like him. He's awesome.
I like, yeah.
And his work is awesome too. So, yeah, definitely that. And Arcane Library, we're rounding that one off with Shadow Dark. Naturally, going through that PDF was an absolute joy. I love it. I can't wait for my copy of the book. And I heard the Shadow Barge has landed stateside. So,
nice.
Definitely good. On the Cowards list, Necrotic Gnome and Free League, because they do have some activists in their midst, and
it's not pervasive though.
Right, and the games are largely non-political. I do recommend Bison, Alien RPG.
I got Bison too.
Tales from the Loop. I do like Tales from the Loop.
Just played it last night. Rogan's running. He kind of spells me. So we're right in the middle of a little arc in Tales from the Loop.
Have you ever seen the show?
No. I saw about 15 minutes of the show, and I saw it was wasn't it like a little girl, like a teenage girl that was like the center of it?
That show, it's sort of an anthology series almost.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, and it's really weird, but it's slow burn weird, so you kind of have to hang with it. I sat here with a friend one day, and I remember I didn't have anything else to do, so I was like, I want to watch this, because I had seen Tales from the Loop in my gaming store when it was local to me. And we watched it. We spent the entire day just binging the hell out of it. And I was like, okay, that was suitably weird. And I loved every second of it.
I'll have to give it
like
a shot.
Twilight Zone level.
Okay, I'll have to give it a shot.
Yeah,
it just kind of passed me by. By the way, I'll give you, it's almost the 10-minute warning for me to eject. I remember.
Right on, because you're going to see Godzilla today?
Going to see Gojira.
Oh, dude, let me know how that is when you're done. Traders, Steve Jackson Games. Yep. Yep. Monty Cook. God, I'd hate to even label. I don't want to label him a trader, but definitely his company.
Look, he has to take responsibility at some point.
Yeah, true. Pinnacle. That was a letdown for me, because I do have Savage Worlds core rules.
Yeah, so let's talk about them. All right. Yeah, so Pinnacle. This is one I always had a problem with Occul's list, because he always had them on the green. And at the time, I had always compared it to Goodman Games on his list, who he had all the way in the red. Yeah. And I was like, how can this be? I said Pinnacle adjusted their whole, lore based on, pressure from leftists, and changed real important in-game stuff, And at the time, I was like, in Goodman Games, the only thing they did is, they changed, to gender neutral in their rulebook. Well, turns out he was probably right about Goodman Games, maybe for the wrong reasons. But I still think he was wrong about Pinnacle being green. And in fact, I actually had, when I did it on the live stream, I said, I got Pinnacle on the coward list. I don't think, I said they made that one mistake, but I haven't heard anything else from them. But everybody else was like, no, Double D, it's too big of a thing. Plus, I guess they started to shame people on their own message boards or something for not going along with it.
Yeah, this was the part I really did want to expand on. They changed the Civil War aspect of Deadlands due to pressure from kooks, and then apparently scolded fans on their message board that they better like the change or else.
Yeah, now that's all like hearsay. People were saying like, that happened. So I'm like, I'm going to go with my, my crew and assume that they're right. So I don't want to say grudgingly, but with a little bit of reservation, I put him in that third category of traders.
And Max said he found a hard copy of Victorious. It'll be there by Christmas. Nice. Yes. That was their suggested steampunk gaslight reading list was quite the rabbit hole. It is. And Mac, you're going to absolutely love that. Trust me, you'll thank me later. And to that, I'll just say you're welcome. That way you don't have to. I mean, this is what I've noticed, especially from companies on the villain list. You will do it this way at your table, or else. Or else what? Yep. What are you going to do? Call me names? I've been there, dude. I don't care,
But it's them essentially publicly saying, we don't like you. We don't have any respect for you. We just want your money, and then you can literally, fuck off. We're gonna use you to virtue signal against.
That's why I'm like, but are you though? Yeah. Nah, don't think you will. Chaosium, the speaking of Chaosium, I'll show you something. You're gonna love this, by the way, because I do have a 7th edition Call of Cthulhu, just the 2 core rule books. I got the starter set. Starter set was good. I actually enjoyed Alone Against the Flames. And let's see. Here we go. I'm going to share this because this was so much fun for me. If you're going to do this, I suggest that you find a way to enforce what you put out there, or try. But this one makes me so happy to show off. So here's my character sheet for Call of Cthulhu. And you'll notice in the pronouns, that's exactly what I put, fucking off.
Yep. The only proper ones.
The only proper ones. Or NA, or leave it blank, it's fine. Or, hey, you know what? I say this as well. You don't have to use this. You don't have to use this one. You can just use scratch paper. It's fine.
There's going to be a market for people creating third-party character sheets for these games without all the bullshit.
That's very true. And of course, Joe, thank you for finally joining us. Glad to have you aboard for this list. We are actually in the traders section here. So we just talked about, we're on Chaosium right now, but yeah, they went from thinking H.P. Lovecraft to do no harm. I did purchase the 2nd edition box. It came with a letter, and all the letter said was everything in the box was presented as it was written that year. And that is all. It didn't do the Wizards of the Coast. This is not who we are anymore and all that kind of crap. It was just, here's everything in the box, published as it was written. There's been no alterations. Do with it what you will. I can get behind that. They didn't even need to send me that. That's fine. But letting me know that that's how it was originally written, okay, I'm good with that. But what was the? I know it was Lynn Hardy, but she like started going off on what was it, Sandy Peterson or someone else for writing Masks of Nyarlathotep or something like that.
I want to say it might have been somebody else. Maybe somebody in the chat can say. I think it was somebody else.
Yeah.
Although I think Sandy has kind of divested himself of all that, because I think Sandy's a good dude. In fact, he'd be up in probably the hero category. I think he's in the green category of Ocul's list.
Yeah, this is one I don't get. Renegade Game Studios has a space for pronouns on their G.I. Joe Transformers game. Okay, as a forewarning, but the book itself is otherwise fine. I wanted to get G.I. Joe and Transformers because I love those properties. Have since I was a kid. And I just realized I hadn't been sharing that screen of the list here. But definitely wanted to, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I need those. Mainly because I have so many Universal systems. Well, I got 3 Universal systems I could do.
Well, to be fair, it's not that we support any particular behavior, but I do find that the more offensive a publisher becomes about certain things, the more likely it is to encourage other people to find, we'll call, alternative viewing methods for their games. Because as much as we might say, make lists of don't support these publishers because they despise you, at the same time, if there's a property that you really care about, that they've gotten their hooks in, like, Transformers, and you really, 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 really want to see it, the company takes a back seat. It's just, you don't want to give them your money.
Yeah.
And if you had told me that, I really love me some Transformers and some G.I. Joe, I happen to have a friend who might happen to be working on a campaign who might happen to have shown me the Transformers core book and the Decepticons operations manual, and I might actually have these in my custody and could have just, shown them to you.
Yeah.
And if the showing to you happened to be long term and you happen to have them and Renegade just happened to never make money off of it, well, that's just the weirdest, most unfortunate thing for them.
That's a great point.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a great point. You can have your cake and eat it too. And that's maybe what a lot of these folks don't realize. So it's why you should always enter the prospect of turning off all your fans, or a lot of your fans, very cautiously, because there are other methods out there to consume your content.
Well, being a latecomer to the show, I'm sorry, I sleep. And
I'm leaving in about 2 minutes. So.
Oh boy. Well then I'm glad I brought this because it's really topical. We'll get your input. What I find to be more important and more insidious is how this sort of back and forth argumentation on the subject of what is proper living in the gaming sphere has opened the door for certain corporations to engage in really unpleasant anti-consumerist behavior, which they can just hide or go unseen. Because what I find more unpleasant than this, if you haven't seen it, have you seen the most recent version of a Marvel-based superhero game recently from Marvel?
Nope.
So if you go to the site we don't talk about, I will get the clip if you actually want to see the receipts. I have them. And you pull up that game system. You don't get a PDF. They actively tell you this is not a PDF. The only way to get it is to either happen to be lucky enough to be at a brick and mortar store where they have it, right? Or you buy a license for a virtual tabletop through Roll20.
No.
You can license the opportunity to play a game that they can take away at any time in any way, or they can alter as they see fit, which means you have very little control over how your game plays at your table. Doesn't that sound lovely? And remember, because it's digital, you don't own it. And they want you to pay the same amount of capital you would for a physical product.
No, fuck that.
Actually almost $60 on box.
Oh, fuck that. Nope.
Awful.
That's a hard no for me.
But here's the thing. 30 years ago, they never would have got away with it.
Nope.
Because our side of things, the consumer side of things, even if we didn't happen to like each other, even if we had the weirdest level of disagreement about all kinds of stupid stuff, we were at least agreed Corpo's going to exploit you. Screw the corp, man.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
But now,
then the left adopted corporations and pro-corporate. Hey, listen, guys, I'm gotta go see Gojira. So I got to nope out.
Are you seeing the American one, or are you seeing -1?
-1.
I have heard that is really, really, really good.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to it. So you guys can pick over the rest of the list.
Put
it in your capable hands.
I'll be putting a link to your YouTube channel in the description down below.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, always appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. Yeah.
Thank you so much. You're welcome at any time. You just say the word, we'll have you on.
Cool.
Hey, somebody out there, where's my Godzilla RPG? I want to play a kaiju.
Yep.
Greg is currently working on that. Titans
nice.
of the Earth or something like that.
All right, take care, guys.
Nice.
Yep.
All right, take care.
Yep.
So Double D in the house, man. That was a great time. Absolutely awesome. And we do thank him for coming on. Of course, welcome back anytime. But Chaosium, due to how they've gone, I'm going to say this with this particular publisher. My recommendation: go for the older games, or just stick with like the core rules, the starter set, or the Alone books. You'll be fine. MCDM, Matt Colville. No, absolutely not. Sorry. Not sorry. Fuck that. No. Catalyst Games. I just caught a video from Razor Fist where he showed how you can still play BattleTech without having to involve Catalyst. Because he, as he put it, FASA created it, not Catalyst. Catalyst doesn't own it. They're just a licensee, and we actually own that now. So fuck them.
Well, this is why I'm sad that when I am late, I don't try to be late. But you know, this show for me is 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
Which I make that. That's also when I go early during the week, right?
Yeah.
And I can make it to work, but it's like, oh wow, my weekend gone.
Yeah.
Same. But still, you know, I get here as quickly as I can. The thing is that I have bought A Time of War, which is the Catalyst Games RPG. I had bought it before they put any offensive content in, or before the Blaine Pardo firing or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Right? I have one of their box sets for starting BattleTech. Why? It was convenient. Not because it was the best.
Yeah.
And this is where I have a problem. And I really wish I had been here to have that conversation with Diversity and Dragons. Dragons and Diversity, DBD, what have you. I have a problem with the concept of making these lists. Not their content. I know that we're not making blacklists. But the lists themselves make me question. Because while Catalyst may have changed their positions in negative ways, right? I never found any of their content particularly offensive. What I found was more pertinent was it's kind of limp-wristed. You have BattleTech, a property that is world-renowned, and everybody enjoys it and everybody wants more of it. And you're like, we have BattleTech. Just not caring whether your product is the best you can, because they'll buy it anyway. Which is another trend, another shift from sort of classic consumer-based tabletop sphere or hobbyist gaming sphere to corporatized sphere, right? Is that perception that the corpo controls the property, therefore you, the player, just buy what they give you, right? Because Time of War is not as crunchy as Mech Warrior, but it's also not as good as Mech Warrior. And they're okay with that, and maybe they shouldn't be. But I don't know if that makes them a lefty company. I think the whole Blaine Pardo thing was a horrible mistake. Right? But, I mean, come on. The description here in the list is questionable. Fired their best and most prolific author, yes. Blaine Pardo, yes. At the behest of a mentally ill stalker, what? Who ended up being a middle-aged loser living with mom and dad. I lived with my parents at various stages. BattleTech couldn't be in worse hands. It probably could not be. However, I think the real thing here is firing Blaine Pardo was a giant public debacle, right? But equivalent to, say, the Escapist recently losing Yahtzee and most of their original staff and the entirety of Zero Punctuation. And all they did was turn around and start a show that's exactly the same with different bells and whistles. I'm sure Blaine Pardo is going to continue not only to enjoy his mountain of money that he's undoubtedly made from BattleTech over his long career, but has gone on to work on other things immediately. Somebody else picked him right up because they said that Catalyst loss is my game. And if they hadn't, my God.
Yeah, my biggest problem was, like, I saw that they released 2 box sets, and I was like, that sounds really cool. Unfortunately, firing Blaine Pardo, that was kind of the deal breaker for me. So I was like, absolutely not. And I'm glad Razor came out with this video, because I love the concept of BattleTech, and I really do want to play it, but not not for Catalyst. Goodman Games, we all know of the controversy that they've stirred up in the past couple days. And this, understand, like, it's not that we're angry that they changed the graphic itself. That is not the point. The point is that the initial graphic showed people who have actively contributed to the game and some of the more prominent names of people who have actively, skillfully contributed to the game. Personally, I like Bob. I think he's a cool cat. I watch his channel. Bob never has a beef with anyone. I've never seen Bob have a beef with anyone. And that's something I can respect. Jordan videos, I've checked his out. He's pretty awesome. There were a couple other people there. Robert Schwab, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, wrote Shadow of the Demon Lord. I don't have that one, but it came highly recommended. He actually worked on 5e. And I understand that it's like really dark, really gritty D&D. And I'm like, that I could kind of get behind, but it's like, do I need another fantasy system? The answer right now is no. That's one that I do have my eye on. But what's going on with that is when you take all those people off and you put other people on who have not done the same thing. Here's my other one. If I were in Goodman Games' shoes and I had that, okay, here's how I would change the graphic. Change the graphic and just list all the names. Here's everybody that's going to be appearing. And if someone had a problem with that, tough shit. You get one do-over, that's it.
Well, here's this about that though. It's a question. Is it possible, as we are discussing this list, is it possible to get oneself off of the list or get downgraded on the list? Because as you may or may not know, Patty certainly does, because they pointed it out. Goodman, specifically John, backpedaled. They are rolling back on this action that they have taken, going, we may have overreacted. It may have been a decision made at the corpo level somewhere that we weren't aware of, and maybe it was a mistake. So they may be fixing the offensive content. Obviously, you would want them to not do it in the first place, right? But making a mistake, realizing, oh shit, we made a mistake, and then undoing the mistake is at least head and shoulders better than, say, the Coastal Wizards deciding to screw things up and then acting like they never screwed anything up and you're the one that screwed up.
Okay, here's the thing I wanted to say about that. I realize that they're rolling back the stuff about Gary Gygax. They're going to re-include him, which is a great first step. Still not enough. Now, when here's the difference. When I say not enough, I am not talking about, you must appease me at every turn. I'm not talking about that. Enough for me is just make the fucking game. Present the fucking game. Exclude all this, current year bullshit, because we don't want it. We don't need it. We're tired of it. If you fucking doubt, look at the Marvels. Look at all the shit that's come out recently, the constant bait and switches, and we're covering it. And most of us are going, no, hard fucking no. So, and here's the thing. I was the guy that when people came to me and asked me about DCC or MCC, I was like, look, do you really want to get started in this game? And if they said absolutely yes, hell yeah, 100%. Patty, to your point here, I would tell them, okay, go to the Goodman Games website, buy the first time fan kit. You will get the book, you'll get the dice. The dice alone are like they're charging $35 a set for this, and you're talking $35 to $45 at the time that I purchased them. You get the book, the dice, a GM screen, and the one for DCC is really good. The one for MCC is like cereal box cardboard. No big deal. It's still there. You still get it. And I'd have told people, yeah, you get a couple of adventures, and you get a couple issues of this newspaper that they once released. It's really good stuff to have. So that was the most cost-effective way I could think of to get into those games. Now I'm like, you're better off just going Castles and Crusades and Dystopian Dawn. And the reason I say that is because I think Tony should be on our list of heroes here. And let's see, what's this?
I happened to find the receipt while we were talking because it's shocking enough to still have to see it.
Oh, good grief!
This is not a live from the site though. This is a snip. This is a visual clip.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, $30 for a virtual tabletop you don't even own.
Nope. Absolutely
and it
not.
Says this does not include the PDF.
Nope. Fuck that.
And the best part is that if you look at the other books in the set, it's DLC model. You buy the core books and then they want you to buy setting and adventure books that will expand your rule set.
Who's the company? Is this Marvel?
This is actually from Marvel. Marvel directly entered role-playing games. So in fact, we are talking about Disney not knowing how our RPGs work.
And you know what? This is what pisses me off more than anything. And I'm going to say this. They are directly taking Wizards of the Coast model and making it their own. You will be forever locked into guess what? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, not your table, not your rules. You will be playing by theirs. Right. And that's a dangerous thing. Mac, yes, I will be making that list very available. In fact, we're going to go back to it. I will be putting this on my I'll be putting this in the link in the description down below. That way you can check it out yourself. I'll also there's also in there the link to Ocul's list, so you can go and check that out too. That's the original. So he does cite that, and that's a great thing. Goodman Games, though, I'm going to say this. Here's all I want. So this is all that I want or need from Goodman Games. Just make DCC, get rid of those fucking convention rules, because Goodman Games, fuck you. If I'm paying and I'm doing the work, that is my table. You don't get to say shit other than what's in those books. Just make the goddamn books. Stop this bullshit and walk away, because that's it. That's all we need. And if you don't know how to do that, I want you to go up here to the heroes list and ask Troll Lord Games. I want you to ask the Red Room. I want you to ask the Basic Expert Victor, the Arcane Library, Palladium, how they do it, because they do it and they do it well. That's all you got to do.
And to be clear, let me be clear, because I'm a little retarded. The thing is that over the course of this conversation, to which I am late, I will probably come off as playing devil's advocate, which mostly sure. But my thing is that if you take this list, and you're welcome to take this list, your life, your rules, whatever. All I'm saying is use your discernment, not the list. The list is not a mandate. It is not the one true path OSR. This is what we say is good. Because for instance,
it's just to inform you of what these companies do, and then you can make your own decision from there. In fact, there was a guy who follows me who keeps popping in on this shit, thinking that we're trying to make this list of companies that should never be allowed at your table. And, for me, these are companies that will probably never be allowed any further at my table. I would still play DCC and MCC because I have them, but honestly, I would rather play Dystopian Dawn. I would rather play Castles and Crusades. Well, that's how it is. But the thing is, we're out to inform you, because, hey, guess what? If I had known about some of these going in, like Kids on Bikes, I was super excited to get that one, and I got it. I kind of glossed through it, and I thought, this is great. I love the concept. I love the vibe. But here's the problem. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and they have an entire blurb in there on sexuality and race, and I'm like, we never talked about that shit as kids. We saw it on the news. We didn't care. All we cared about was getting on our bikes and skateboards and going out and doing weird, crazy shit, because we We had a lack of supervision. We were the latchkey kids, hey, Gen X, I wrote an article on that on Substack not that long ago. That's what we were concerned with. And the only time sexuality came up is when you took a bad spill and you were like, and someone was like, get up, and they spat the slur for a homosexual at you. That was it. That's how it was. Okay. It doesn't mean it was right. It just means that's how it was with kids. Kids can be cruel, and we were among the cruelest to each other, and it toughened a lot of us up. So if I had known that was in that book, I wouldn't have bought it, and I'll tell you exactly why, because I gave a PDF copy of that to my niece, and when I found it, I immediately went to my sister, showed her, and said, I don't think this is proper. I ended up getting Dark Places and Demogorgons, which is by far better.
My thing is that as we go through this list, there are a couple of people in a couple of places where I actually find the company's product very good, right? And while there may be offensive corporation people working there with offensive content, because God knows I hate Promethean Second Edition, a game I have run for the better part of a year and a half. They have other games that are not so bad. There are other people there that aren't so bad. You have Modifius on this list, right?
Yep.
My thing about Modifius is they make bad games, right? Star Trek Adventures is not great. Their version of Conan is not great, right? Mm-hmm. But Modifius is just a licensee that makes other people's published works, and they make board games. I also must freely admit I have the Conan board game on my shelf. I already have it. They already got my money.
I bought Mutant Chronicles. I bought the hardcover core rule book for like $5. Oddly enough, and I've brought this up before, but it bears repeating. It has a bit of character to it, which I think probably happened in the warehouse, not in transit. And I'll tell you why I think that is because the same corner ding, which is a hell of a ding. I saw another YouTuber had picked it up. I don't remember who. I only caught one of his videos. He pulled it up on screen. He had the exact same corner damage to the cover mine had. Exact. So I got that, and I got the entire line of PDF for like another $5. I bought the entire line of the Conan 2D20. I think like one book out of the many had the crap in it. I really do want to get at least that core rule book in hardcover, but it's just way too expensive on the secondary right now. So I'll be waiting for whoever's making the next version to make theirs and do it. Autarch's Ascendant is good enough for Superhero instead. You know what? That's one I've looked at because I don't have much, if anything, in the way of superhero games, except maybe Wretched Vigilantes, which is another one. It's definitely more grounded. So think more the Punisher rather than Superman or Batman.
Also, Patty, they're not rainbow colored swastikas. Those are pinwheels. The fact that they happen to look like swastikas is just entirely horrifically accidental. We swear, honest. They're not swastikas, honest. Except they just happen to look like it, shaped like it, and they happen to mean the same thing. It's entirely coincidental.
I do. If logic and empathy won't work, then shame will become our weapon. I think the sound of wallets suddenly snapping shut or cards sliding back into those Ridge wallets everybody's carrying around these days, I think that'll speak a lot louder. And of course, Cal, economic emptiness. Yes.
Wolfgar, did you hear that? It was like the sound of 1,000 wallets opening and then closing forever.
Dark Places and Demogorgons. There are two versions. Let me just say this. There are two versions. There is the one that Bloat Games put out that uses the Survive This rule. Survive This is basic. It's a BX game. From everything I've seen, it's a BX game, and it works, and it's good. I love it. It's very enjoyable. As a matter of fact, there is a character in the. Let me tell you how 80s this went. This mostly focuses on like the 80s. Let me tell you how 80s this went. One of the characters, the kid scientist, that class, among your starting equipment is Devo's first album on cassette. I shit you not. And then one of the NPCs is named Jack Burden, and he's a jock. And I went, oh, I hope I get the chance to play that fucker.
I mean, have you ever seen the Ghostbusters RPG?
No.
If you dig up a copy of the old Ghostbusters RPG, when you actually open it, it not only has a welcome to the Ghostbusters company franchisee, right? But it has in-world licensing and an in-world contract you are supposed to sign,
oh wow,
meaning that you have become an official Ghostbusters licensee in the Ghostbusters franchise, and that you promise to protect the Ghostbusters brand and all of its materials up to and including the trade secrets of
the proton packs and
unlicensed proton packs.
But
it is hilarious because of how mercenary it is, but that's like totally the kind of tongue-in-cheek that movie was about.
But I managed to buy I bought both editions. There is another one for OSE, so it uses OSE's rules. It is a much thicker book. I'm going to tell you that right now, and I have some PDFs that I managed to procure, which I just really all I wanted was a PDF of the Survive This version, and that way I could take it with me. But I ended up getting that and the cryptid manual and all this other stuff, and it really does have that Stranger Things feel. If you wanted to, if you've already got it, and you got kids on bikes, you don't like that little bit they threw in there where they're asking you to please consider the fuck off, just make the rules for the fucking game. That's always going to be my stance. And then, you and your table can do whatever you want. I don't care. But if you wanted to, that one allows you to set, during any time period. Dark Places and Demogorgons focuses on the 80s. So it kind of depends on what you want. I say get creative, combine some of the rules for both, and just kind of see where it takes you. You don't have, like with DP&D, you have to set it almost in exclusively in the small town in Kentucky, because that's the setting for it. Now, with Kids on Bikes, you can kind of set it anywhere. If you come from a small town like I do, you can set it in that small town. That's kind of the reason I got behind it at first. But now I do recommend Dark Places and Demogorgons. It's a lot of fun.
I now have a terrible mental image of us playing Kids on Bikes, and it just turns into the Dukes of Hazzards on 10 speeds.
Well, or on little BMX bikes. That's what I
Some good old boys.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I had one of those little BMX, those red bikes that were just prevalent in the 80s. I had one of those. Let's see, I was 5 years old when I got it. I was 13 when the gears finally gave up the ghost and wouldn't hold a chain.
Right.
That's how long. And that bike got I beat the fuck out of that bike. That was one of the best bikes I ever owned. I had a Huffy mountain bike not too long after that, which I loved. It took a beating too. And I had a mongoose that was excellent. I just couldn't take it with me, so I actually just kind of gave it to a friend when I left town. But Achtung Cthulhu, I wanted to play that because it's Call of Cthulhu set during World War II. I really wanted to play it, but I won't give Modifius another dime. I don't even think I really want to pirate it, to be honest with you. Now that you mentioned this, I don't want to pirate. Like Fredo on TV, one of my favorite YouTubers, says in his character Earl, brother man, I don't even want no base. So gaming in the 80s was from the perspective of at the table, so good. I didn't get into it in the 80s. I got into it in the 90s, and at that table, so many good times, so much fun. And unfortunately, it's kind of gone the way it has. I'd like to think it'll work. That'll work, Raven, but I don't think just not buying the product is going to work. Making a list like this does help, yes. And the reason that we're making a list like this is because new players, when they come in, they absolutely deserve to know what these companies are doing and why. So that's why these lists will help. So
just things. I'm actually in favor of the first page of the list. It's the subsequent classifications that make me question, and that's only because one of the things that we had back in my LARP days in the club, right, was some people would point out, you know what, we have trouble recruiting? It's people like you. And I'm like, what do you mean? Because I love getting accused of shit. And they're like, every time somebody comes in, you start by complaining about what sucks about this club. And it's like, well, yeah, because this club has things that suck, right? And then they would explain that it's like, yeah, but you can't get new people and make things better if you emphasize the bad. And it's like, there's a certain amount of truth to that. I am way more in favor of our list of heroes, where we just describe the people, what are really good and why you should try them, and just ignore the people that suck. They know what they suck. They already know they're on the bad boy list and what they've done.
Now, I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
If any of these companies, I don't even care if they're on the villains list right now, if any of these companies were to reverse course, I would actually now it depends on how hard they reverse course. If Wizards of the Coast, for example, said, you know what, we're sorry, you win. We obviously made a very terrible decision. We're going to bring this all the way back to first edition AD&D, and we're going to look through these rules. We're going to present them to you, get feedback on them, and then we will go from there. Our 7th edition core books are going to be reflective of this. We will not bait and switch. This is our new direction, and we understand that we messed up by alienating those who have been with this since original D&D, and we're going to start paying proper tribute to this. We're going to be good stewards of this. I'm going to admit I would have a hard time trusting that. They would have to present that. But once they presented the evidence and they were true to their word, oh, dude, yeah, I would go back to them. I'm not going to lie. As of right now, though, they have lost me forever.
My only qualifier to that, because I agree with your sentiment, is any company that corrects course needs to understand in a serious way, you're going to lose out on your first course-corrected product. And you're probably going to, if not lose out, you're going to get less results out of your second. And the reason I say that is because if we look at video games for just a minute, there are companies that I have actively said, I will never buy your products. Fuck you guys. You guys are awful. Right? Just because their products are bad. Not even because of their political positions, although sometimes their political positions are bad as well. Right? When they make a course correction and then they put out a product, because I've already asserted I won't buy it, right? You have to wait for the grapevine to get to me to go, Joe, you got to check this out. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not giving those people my money. It's like, no. I'll have it fall off of a truck. You got to check this out. They've done something different. I'm like, really? Right? And then once I've seen it and I'm like, okay, they seem to be making a course correction. Then you start getting people back. Getting back an audience you have burned takes time. Right? Because the one problem that I have seen, right, and it's a problem on our end, not the corpo end, is that some corporations will make a token backpedal, right, to get you back, and then proceed on a pre-established course with next product, like you're an idiot and you deserve it because you gave them your money, so they got what they want out of you, right? Because that has happened as well. Companies have said, no, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to be political.
Yeah, that whole bait and switch thing will absolutely not work. I mean, if they were to do something like that, my advice to gaming companies who have turned this way, turn back now. First is Goodman Games, you still have plenty of time to course correct, but as of right now, I'm not recommending your games as I once did. And my first Kickstarter ever was the Dark Tower.
But by the way,
really thought that looked really cool. I don't care that Jacquet's transitioned. I just don't give a shit. That is the person who has contributed to gaming since the beginning. As long as their contributions, are that the game itself, I don't give a shit what they do in the bedroom. I don't give a shit what color they are. I don't give a shit what country they're from. I don't give a shit, what their weird fetish may be. I'm not judging. I've got some weird shit in my head myself. I don't care. What I care about is just give me the fucking game. You will get money from me. That's it. That's the whole fucking deal. It's so simple. I don't see why this is so hard, but we do need to move on. About 15 minutes left.
Well, I just want to mention as we were talking about being children of the 80s and 90s and how gaming used to be, that this month when I got my foods, when I got my groceries, I didn't want to get more soda. I needed to think of something else to get. But I needed fluids. So I have a like a 30 case of Capri Sun because I'm a big boy. So I'm sitting here drinking a Capri Sun as we did in the olden days of the before time.
Well, anyway, getting on with things. Daring to Press from Critical Role, I have no interest anyway. I know that they've said some despicable things toward Kyle Rittenhouse. I will not. I will say he took out a couple felons and a pedophile, and some literally disarmed someone who should not have had a firearm in their hand to begin with. I don't know how that dude was not prosecuted for that. But anyway, villains. Wizards of the Coast and Paizo, they top the list. Green Ronin, yes, we know about that one. Cobalt Press, that's they're a disappointment. Evil Hats, that one, I do have Monster of the Week and Tome of Mysteries. That's about as far as I'm going to go. Onyx Path, a small company is aggressively and unapologetically radical leftist. I do
agree. They're
not. Well, they certainly are shoehorning a lot of that into their games.
It is a combination of a number of factors.
I'm aware of the combination of a number of factors, but honestly, for me, they get nothing.
I understand that, but I will say the big one is they have no quality control on their authors. So, different books will have different authors simultaneously working in the same project, who will then espouse a belief system, and they only find out later in production, and it's like, why did you do this?
I do have a question here, though. Patty brings up something. Patty, you bought Giant Lands. How is it? I mean, if you have it, I'd like to know from you, how is it? How is the game itself? I'm aware of Wonderfield's really terrible behavior, but that's why, like, I was kind of on the fence. But this is interestingly enough, this is how I got to Mutant Crawl Classics, because it was $80 for that game, but it was like 35 to 40 for MCC First Time Fan Kit, and I was like, why the fuck would I purchase that game for $80 when I can get the First Time Fan Kit? So much, it was so much more cost effective. And speaking of cost effective, I'm going to run to Ollie's today because Sam tipped me off that Ollie's has some like 5e stuff really, really cheap. And I'm kind of thinking among them, Warriors of Kryn, the board game. I'm thinking those might, for like $10 each, I think those might make great Christmas gifts. And that's the reason I'm going. And they have some other stuff I want to look at too for like $2 and $3. So Wizards is not going to be really getting that much of my money, I don't think. But anyway, how is it? Let me know. Let's see. In that case, I'd be willing to make a purchase and check it out, test the waters. Yes, that's true. Don't forget they shit in the pool. Probably true. Small indies are going to have a hard time. Yeah. Imagine how wokesters will react in RPG world when they discover Tolkien was a traditional Catholic. I think they know, and they're in denial. Finding the good dudes that make good product are being boosted. And here's the thing I want to point out. Every one of these companies, I think the people on the heroes list understand this, and that's why they're delivering good products rather than shit products. Look, I don't care if if the shit you publish is like POD only. Goodness knows I bought enough of those books. And, POD is not great quality, but at the same time, if you're publishing that at a lower price point, but the game is a lot of fun and it's good, I would purchase that before I purchase this big, beautiful, sewn binding, blah, 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 of just complete crap cover to cover. And this is a luxury. This is not a necessity for many of us. So I think I think every company those that are not on the heroes list need to understand that. We're having to be a lot smarter with our money these days. But he said Giant Lands has super great art, layout sucks, character creation's a slog, and then there's a ton of the woke stuff right out the get. Okay, for a company that sat there and prided themselves on being the new TSR, they actually threw that in there. And I got it because James Ward in the art. Jim Ward has also done work for Castles and Crusades, among other things. I think he's been paid on that, thank goodness. So he won't be getting any residuals. But it should be obvious to these creatives, they better get the money of people they disagree with, because it means you have the ability to put it to the causes that you do like, and do so silently. I don't care if, let's just say I create a game and I put it toward the Exonerate the West Memphis 3 fund. That's what I'm going to do. Once the money's out of my hands and it's in someone else's, it's out of my control. Well, if they do something shady with it, I'm never going to give them another dime. But if they do something good with it that I know about, I probably will give them more. It just kind of depends, really. Okay.
Well, I mean, you actually touched the ultimate qualifier on its head. Is do what you do with your money that you have earned from your labor silently. If you don't recall, the guy that made Five Nights at Freddy's, I want to say Scott Cawthorn, gave a mountain of his Five Nights money to a super PAC. I don't know if it was the Koch brothers or some other, because the guy's from the South. He's a Christian, he's a conservative, and he wanted to support his politics. More power to him. And he was more or less driven out of the video game industry by extremists screaming, "How dare man who make robot bear game give money to politic?" And it's like, whoa, guys, he's an American. He earned it.
How dare these companies give money to Act Blue? Okay.
Right. But here's the thing. Whether I like who he's giving money to or not, or I, like the idea of super PACs, which I don't, it's his money. He earned it. Once the green leaves your hand and enters his hand, it's his money now. By the transitive property, it is no longer yours.
That's right here all day long. I still don't understand. And this was something I did want to ask Double D about, but I didn't get around to it. And that I'll talk to him about it later. We'll talk about this on the next show in a couple weeks. But on a logical level, and here's the thing: why independent companies didn't just stay neutral, let the GMs workify their own tables with house rules, etc. Why did they enter into this arena? It's because they got pressure. They don't understand how this works, and they're fucking around. They're about to find out, I think.
Well, I think that's part of it. And like you said, we're going to talk about this probably into the future. But I also think it has to do with, like, Games Workshop, like the Coastal Wizards, like what used to be called White Wolf, interacted with their fan base, found out there are some skeevy people in those fan bases, and thought, oh God, we have to control this. They didn't think of fans as the consumers who consume the product, and then once it's there, it's like, sorry guys, nothing we can do. They said, oh no, we have to guide it because this is our purchase base. These people essentially work for us. Their job is to give us money, right?
Well, the bigger point that I made earlier on was when you have companies like, and this is a good point too. It's a good point, Mac. But hold on, just a moment. Wizards of the Coast, many of the other Wizards of the Coast and Paizo. I'm going to wager a little guess here. Now, Hasbro is what owns Wizards of the Coast, and I'd be willing to bet BlackRock owns Hasbro. So when these companies, these big, huge hedge funds, like I don't know if BlackRock's a hedge fund. I know they're a financial juggernaut. They own just a piece of or if not the sum totality of just about everything. They got their hands in everything. And their own CEO was like, well, now we have to force behaviors. It's like, that's where your problem is. And if you're going to take their money as investment capital, yeah, it's their money, it's their rule. And so with larger companies or the more, on display there, I kind of get that. With smaller companies, I don't.
The smaller companies should know better, but I think the smaller companies want to be bigger companies. So they think they have to take competitive actions. And the problem is that it's like, why would you make the actions of the companies that were bad enough that you became a small indie to begin with?
Yeah. It
does.
And Mac, I'm going to give you this. It completely staggers the imagination. And that's why I think there were like companies like Troll Lord Games. The Red Rooms games are not really political at all. And having so many of their books, in fact, I have them all saved for the few that they've released. I got to go download those because I'm a subscriber to their site. Aside from that, I can speak to the rest of them. They're not very political. They have some real world political intrigue in those historical settings. That's where it makes sense. But with the bigger, more prominent companies, the ones you've heard of, the ones that are featured in every game shop, large to small, they took out loans. I'm convinced because I think Razorfist was right. It's not get woke, go broke. It's go broke, get woke, ultimately croak. I think that's perfect summary. And that's what we're seeing right now. These companies are falling like dominoes. Their products are failing left and right. Bob Iger said, yeah, we're going to quiet all this noise around these divisive issues. And I'm like, will you really?
And it's too little too late because it looks like he's on his way out again. But no, Mac, even though it seems insane, and you're correct, it's insane, that is actually the mentality, and it comes from television of all things. Because in television production, the idea is how you measure metrics. And we've known it for decades. It's silly, but it's true. It's how they think of it.
Yeah.
Is if one person complains, he'll tell two friends, and they'll tell two friends, and they'll tell two friends. And by expansion, by vigorous explosion, eventually it's a movement, and then people aren't watching, and your show dies.
Yep.
Right? So if 3 voices go, but it's racist, they're like, that's 3 voices, which is actually 9 voices, which is actually 18 voices, which is actually 81 voices, and before you know it, the entire thing is tainted, so they have to do something. We have to act quickly. And if you go, but what about the 3,000 that said we don't have a problem with this? Right, but they didn't complain. They didn't have the energy to complain. So clearly, we need to appease the small demographic that might do something. And it's like that's not true. They're not going to do shit. They were never going to do shit. They weren't going to buy it, and even if they did, they're not going to do anything about it.
And here's something. Ironcaster just sent this to me. The woke discount calculator. The woke discount calculator, hold on. The woke discount calculator is an entertaining and useful tool that helps you determine the proper discount for games and other products that have woke and other anti-consumer elements in them. This could also be an anti-consumer discount calculator. Simply check the relevant boxes, specify your level of intolerance, set the discount rate, and enter the game's price. After clicking the math out the woke button, you'll receive a price at which you should consider purchasing the game at. While it humorously carries the name woke discount calendar, it serves as a nice tool for customizing discounts based on your criteria, helping you reach a transparent and logic in your purchasing decisions and empowering your vote with your wallet approach. So I actually just did this. I just kind of did this. Game's price $60. That's about what games are kind of going for now. Math out the woke, total discount rate 10%. So when should you buy the game? When it's priced at $54 or below. and it gives you the woke element. So like Californian designs, kind of hard to explain this one, so take it as you will. Race swaps, this is in the game. Sex swaps, yeah, I'm going to breast size reduction. Pronouns, totally. One-way diversity, absolutely. Negative PR marketing, I can actually kind of get past that because, hey, guess what? Troll Lord Games and others have gotten that. Ideological localization, yep, I'm going to put that in there. Uglification of females, yep, going to put that in there. LGBT magnification, I don't have a problem with them being a degenerate grooming, yes. Injecting and excessively magnifying LGBT elements in a game, yes. Sex hypocrisy, yes. I would not want that in there. Male emasculation, realism argument. Yeah. Female defemination, definitely don't want that in there. Love by urinalists. Oh yeah, okay. That I can even get past. Sex gender erasure, developer cave-in. Yeah, I have a 100% tolerance against that. No boob slider, skin censorship. A lot of this looks like it's video games. Injected politics, Mary Sue. Interracial relationships. No, I don't really have a. They say this. Generally speaking, nothing's wrong with a mixed race relationship as long as a lot of other elements are there when it makes sense, but when it doesn't, ticket. Yeah. Woke consultants out. Alphabet marketing out. Cancel culture out. Definitely. Hiring quotas actually racist and sexist. Correct. Voice actor skin. ESG compliance out. Donations. I don't know.
Well, a lot of these things, a lot of the things that we're talking about in tabletop games, one of those facets we have discovered over time and across situations doing our research is the number of people that the parent corp, like Hasbro, hired who were video game game makers, right? The person running D&D for WotC right now got their start and their specialty in mobile games, right? So I think that applying video game woke calendar or woke calculator calculations is probably correct, because you're saying how heavily are they trying to turn the tabletop environment into a video game environment?
Mac, I love your question. Because after ticking all those boxes, and I didn't tick them all, I just ticked a lot of them. Let's go back to that for just a moment.
Okay.
It said you should be paid $96 to accept playing this game. And that was a game retailing for $60.
I
think they're mostly talking about video games, but you can see where it's going. And
I will freely admit
that.
admit, if a friend of mine, like for my birthday or the upcoming Christmas, gave me a physical copy of Thirsty Sword Lesbians, I would put my hand out and wait for them to also pay me for owning it. So,
Oh, good grief, this idiot. Hey, thanks for listening. I'm going to go give those leftists even more money than I already was. Good luck finding a game room. By the way, I hear some of those people who can use this let's really have good ghost costumes. Oh, fuck all the way off.
I mean, I do have
a buffet of dicks.
I mean, I really do have a great ghost costume. I got a Baron Samedi hat. I got a bunch of canes. I don't know what you're talking about.
Someone, I don't know. I think this a response to what I think it was? Oh, for the Tea Drinker. So, Troll Lord Games is looking to eventually stock tea. This is back in January, but I just got a new response. Wellermanship tea, which I was like, man, who's been watching my YouTube feed lately? But anyway, whatever. That guy is a fucking idiot. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'll put this fucking moron on the screen because this is just a goddamn idiot. Okay, and was replying to Double D's list. Thanks, I'm gonna give you more money. Okay, go ahead. When they come for you, I won't give a fuck. I don't want to gloat, but you're making it hard to not. It's this idiot right here. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. He's going to go buy from those guys. Okay. Good on you. I hope you're enough to sustain them because we won't be. And guess what? To be honest, you kind of need us. So we're proving it every fucking day, Will. Every fucking day. We're showing up. You're not. Fuck you. Eat a dick. Okay?
Well,
take that snarky comment, print it out, roll it up, turn that son of a bitch sideways, ram it up your ass.
Well, I am going to avoid sending you things on screen that will make you angry and give you a 3-hour rant session. But
I'll boop your goddamn snoot. Don't play with me. I'll put boops all over your fucking snoot.
Keep your hands off of my
I will boop your fucking snoot.
No boop your nude.
Boops.
No. But no. Ladies and gentlemen,
boost in his natural habitat. Yeah, pretty much.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we near the close of our podcast day, I would invite you all to bow your heads as the Reverend Dr. Raven Wolfgar gives us our daily affirmations and puts on a little bit of the ward. Dr. Riff.
All day, boops on snoots.
All day, boop on the dude.
All day, boops on snoots.
All day, brothers and sisters.
I boop your goddamn snoot. I don't give a shit. I just boop your snoot. And then walk around all day with a boop snoot because it's on boop your snoot.
Boop your dude, hallelujah. Can I get a hallelujah? Hallelujah. Boop the suit.
But here's the thing, okay? The list exists for that fucking idiot too. Okay, it does. And the bottom line of this is new people coming into this hobby deserve to know where their money is going and to what, and why. That's it. That's the only reason this list exists. People like Will are fucking morons, and they're gonna fund their own destruction, their own exclusion, and then they're gonna wonder what happened, and then they're gonna come to people like me, and here's the thing: I've got a lot of forgiveness, but I think we're grossly overestimating my patience level, and I would be apt to look at a person like Will and go, "Piss off, just piss off. You don't have a place at this table, ever." Church of Divine Prophets. Hey, Shadow and Sun. Shadow and Sun are always kind of coming in on the tail end of everything.
I believe we are more accurately even though I do not want to be booped, I believe we are the cult of the divine boop.
The boops all snoots.
On the boops all snoots.
What list? That list is going to be in the description down below. I'm going to go ahead and get that done a little bit later on today, but it is a list that Diversity and Dragons has started cooking up. So Double D has cooked up a list of heroes, cowards, traitors, and villains. God. in the tabletop RPG.
No.
So yeah, and I agree. They need to know who hates them. They do. So hello, everybody. As for me, I have got to get the hell out of here. I've got to make a run to Ollie's today. I'm going to check out that sale, see if I can't pick up some cheap Christmas gifts for family. see what they got. Maybe I can pick up something for myself. I don't know.
So Wolfgar, I was going to make a joke earlier, and I let it slide because it wasn't good. But I just realized that in the way of reality, it played itself out correctly nonetheless. Did you ever watch Ed, Edd and Eddy?
A few times. It had been recommended to me before, and I watched it a few times.
So there's Eddie, the one that's always on the make, trying to get money. There's Ed, the one that's numb, but he's a good egg. And then there's the nerd, who's also named Ed with 2 D's, and his nickname is Double D.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's funny enough, but that's not really great. Except, oh wait, as the note taker, he's also the one that makes lists and takes notes. We literally had Double D on the show, and he had a list.
Yeah, he did. That's very true. All right, so I'm going to close out this. I was a Ren and Stimpy fan. I was also a Rick and Morty fan. The sad thing is, they're made by creeps.
You have to get us out of here, you idiot!
But anyway,
you have places to be.
I'm getting us out of here. I'm getting us out of here now. Do I love these games? Yes. Do I love these games very much? Yes. Then why are they pissing on the electric fence?
In regards to bad tabletop companies, we have one answer, and it's Mr. Horse. No, sir, I don't like it.
No, I don't like it. Not at all. But anyway, do want to close out by saying, guys, I love you all. And the channel is back. So as of Tuesday, because that's my next day off for some reason, work has just been weird. And on top of that, I probably owe a lot of you an explanation because it's been well over a month. Honestly, real life has intruded in many, many ways, and all kind of stacked up. And among them, I am kind of looking for a different job, mainly because there have been things going on at work. I've been trying to combat these things for well over a year. And oddly enough, yesterday they finally started to work. I came in to find that, my lab was in chaos, but it was being fixed. And I didn't have to clean it up this time. It was already done. I just had to clean up after myself. I was I was like, thank you for that much, at least today. So, one of the people that I have to clean up after a lot is moving. They're getting out of there, so I might not have to as much. I might have some actual help that's coming in, but I did find out something that pissed me off and kind of made me go, yeah, I need to look elsewhere. And I started doing that. So the whole future of the channel, the scheduling is kind of in question. I'm not going to lie, because number one, I'm looking into chaplain's positions these days. I'm not looking to stay in retail. It's horrible, but you never know. Might just transition from one company to another. We just don't know yet, and we probably won't know until after the first of the year anyway. Plus, there was some stuff around here I needed to get this place cleaned up. I try to keep on top of it, but me staying busy with different projects has just made me neglect that. So I was like, I can't do it anymore. It's getting to the point where I just can't stand the look of it. So I got to doing that. It's taken a few days, and I'm still not done. Still got a few finishing touches to put up on it. So that's why live streams, suddenly, nope, can't do it today. That's why the reading videos, guys, it takes me like 15, 20 minutes to shoot the thing. It doesn't take me long to edit it because I already got that project in place. I just got to pull out and put in and make sure it transitions smoothly. There's the bake down time, which is something on its own. It's the processing time. I have to sit here and wait for these links to go live so I can get them out to you. And Rumble and BitChute are right now my worst offenders because it takes so much time to get these things uploaded. And there are days where they just pop right up, for a 20-minute video, and then a 5-minute video or 10-minute video. It takes all day for that shit to happen. I've had like with BitChute, it took over 24 hours for them to process a 7-minute video. I was like, what the fuck is going on? So that's why I chose here, Twitter, and Cloud Hub to live stream on, because their uploads are a lot better. They're a little more reliable, and you can catch it whenever. So I'll be honest with you, I'm happy to be back, but it's still going to be very, very limited. So a lot of my postings probably going to be done from this fucking, this fucking thing. So just bear with me. I'm going to be typos because that shit. But anyway, I just want to let you guys know why this channel hasn't been consistent in the last couple months. It's just been a roller coaster ride. Plus, that shit at work has been going nuts. And when I say nuts, this happens around this time every year. There's no exception. So
despite what you may have heard, we don't have Oompa Loompas, and dwarves are too expensive.
Yep, and we don't have a crew. Like this is it. You're looking at it. So we do these things, and of course, I appreciate everyone who likes, comments, shares, subscribes, that whole work, that bit. That is the best and free way to support the channel. So I'm glad you do it. If you want readings, those are also going to be available. No problem at all. I'll have the descriptions of these fixed a little bit later in the day. Until then, I do have, I got stuff to do, so I got a jet. I got my Horde Wars game tonight. First game in a while. Thank goodness we're finally getting that back on track. So Joe, I'll see you there.
It's tonight. It's tonight. Oh my God! It's tonight.
It's tonight.
Black Betty.
Game night is everything. So I'm gonna. And you know what?
Wolfgar, Black Betty.
Oh yeah.
You thought I forgot. You thought I wouldn't remember, but I did.
No, I remember. So yeah. But anyway, guys, I want you to take care. Thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for hanging in there with me, inconsistent though I've been lately. And thanks to Double D for giving so generously of his time. And thank you to Double D for his efforts. And of course, if anyone's cruising through my pinned thread and you find a game that you have questions on, reach out. I'm more than happy to answer. And I think next time we'll actually go a little more in depth into that woke price calculator and just see how much money they would lose on us if we were to actually apply these discounts. But everybody have a great weekend. Have a safe weekend. Game what you love what you game. Just remember, I love you all. Take care of yourselves and each other. Always do what lights you up. Always play what lights you up. And as always, play on.